Lesson 4, we're going to be talking about the opposites of numbers. And our goal is to describe what opposites are and identify opposites on a number line. At any time during this lesson, pause the video, take really good notes. If you need to go back and watch the video again or rewind parts of it, please do so. I'm going to skip ahead to example number 1 on the front of our paper. It says every number has an opposite. You need to locate the number 8 and its opposite on the number line and explain how they are related to 0. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to locate the number 8 on the number line. I'm going to put a point right on the number 8. Why did I put it there? Because 8 is 8 units to the right of 0 on a number line. Now I also have to place its opposite on the number line. So I need to place it the same distance from 0, but in the opposite direction. I'm going to place it at -8, because that -8 is also 8 spaces from 0, but in the opposite direction. So both 8 and -8 are the same distance from 0. But they're on opposite sides of 0. 8 is to the right, and -8 is to the left. That's what defines an opposite. 2 points that are the same distance from 0 on the number line, but in opposite directions. Now I'm going to move ahead to exercise 2 and 3. What I'd like you guys to do is pause the video here after I've finished explaining the directions for number 2, and then turn the video back on and check yourself. See if you got the answers right. You need to locate and label the opposites of the number on the number line. On the number line, on the number line. On the number line. So those 4 points, I want you to plot them and label their opposites. Go ahead and pause the video right now and try that on your paper. Okay, the opposite of 9 will be -9. So I'm going to put a point on -9, and I'm going to label that A. So that's the opposite of 9. The opposite of -2 would be +2. So I'm going to put that B right there. The opposite of 4 would be -4. C right there. And the opposite of -7 is 7. So I'll put a D right there. Did you get all 4 points plotted correctly? Now I want you to try the same thing for number 3. I want you to write the integer that represents the opposite of each situation and explain what 0 means in each situation. Pause the video, try those 3, and then turn the video back on to check yourself. So letter A, we have 100 feet above sea level. We need to write the integer that means the opposite of that situation. Well, 100 feet above sea level would be a +100. The opposite of that would be -100. The 0 in this case means sea level. Because that's what we're saying, we go above or below. 32 degrees Celsius below 0, we want the opposite of that. Well, below 0 is -32. We want the opposite, which is +32. And 0 there means 0 degrees Celsius. And if you remember from the other day when we had the lesson on the thermometer, 0 degrees Celsius is the freezing point of water. And then finally, a withdrawal of $25. We want the opposite of that. A withdrawal is taking money out of the bank. That's a negative. We want the opposite, which is a +25. And then 0 means Zero means there's no change or no deposit or withdrawal made in the account before a deposit or the withdrawal was made in the account. So what we're saying there, guys, is we're saying that it's what the account balance was before we took money out or before we put money in. Now let's take a look at example number 2. Maria decides to take a walk along Central Avenue to purchase a book at the bookstore. On her way, she passes the Furry Friends pet shop and goes in to look for a new leash for her dog. Furry Friends pet shop is 7 blocks west of the bookstore. She leaves Furry Friends pet shop and walks towards the bookstore to look at some books. After she leaves the bookstore, she heads east for 7 blocks and stops at Ray's pet shop to see if she can find a new leash at a better price. Which location, if any, is the farthest from Maria while she is at the bookstore? Determine an appropriate scale and model the situation on the number line below. Our number line is big enough so that we can go by ones. So I'm going to start by putting the scale on there. I'm going to do it in both directions. Okay, now we can use a number line to help us locate directions or locate places given directions. We're going to use west to represent the left side of the number line and east to represent the right side. Now if you go back and reread the story again, both pet shops are given in relationship to the bookstore. So we're going to use the bookstore to represent 0. That's our starting point in this story. She first went to Furry Friends, which is 7 blocks west of the bookstore. So if we go 7 to the left, which is west, that's going to represent the location of Furry Friends. Then after she leaves the bookstore, she heads east for 7 blocks at Ray's. So 7 blocks east would be to the right of 0. That's going to be the location of Ray's bookstore. Which of those places is farther from the bookstore? Well, the answer is they're both the same distance. Furry Friends is 7 blocks to the west. And Ray's is 7 blocks east. We could say that Ray's and Furry Friends are opposites. They are both the same distance from the bookstore in our problem, and the bookstore was represented as 0. Now let's go to exercises 4 through 6. Again, I want you guys to try these and pause the video, and when you're finished, turn the video back on and check yourselves. It says read each situation carefully and then answer the questions. So pause the video now, take a few minutes, answer all 4, 5, and 6. Number 4, on the number line, locate and label a credit of $15 and a debit for the same amount from a bank account. What does 0 represent in this situation? So if we're going to plot these points on the number line, I'm going to start with 0, and we got to get to a credit of 15. That's going to be a positive 15. An appropriate scale would be by 5s. So there, right there is the credit of 15. Now we need a debit for the same amount. That means take money out of the bank. We want to take $15 out. That would be a negative 15 to our bank account. What does 0 represent? 0 means the account balance before any money was taken, or before any transaction. Transaction would be money taken out or money put back in. Number 5 on the number line, locate and label 20 degrees Celsius below 0 and 20 degrees Celsius above 0. What does 0 represent in this situation? Well, I'm going to start with 0, and we got to get to 20 above and 20 below, so I'm going to go by tens this time. 20 below 0 would be the negative 20 degrees, and the 20 above would be the positive 20. And then, of course, 0 means 0 degrees Celsius, which was the freezing point of water. And then number 6, a proton represents a positive charge. Write an integer to represent 5 protons. An electron represents a negative charge. Write an integer to represent 3 electrons. 5 protons would be 5 positives, so 5. And then 3 electrons would be 3 negatives, so that would be a negative 3. How'd you do on those? Now what I'd like you guys to do for homework tonight is to complete the problem set. Have those completed and ready to go for Monday, and have a good weekend.